Welcome back. Founded in 1959, SSP International has been offering high school students an inspiring hands-on immersion in experimental science. With flagship programs like fields like astrophysics, biochemistry, genomics, and synthetic chemistry, SSP provides exceptional teens with the opportunity to engage in real research, work closely with mentors, and join a supportive community that extends far beyond their time in the program. Joining us to tell us more is the Director of Astrophysics of SSP International, Nico Adams. Nico, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Now, can you explain or go into further detail about the mission and vision of SSP International and how it has evolved since its founding in 1959?
Yeah, as you can imagine, 65 years is a long time for a program like this to exist. So I'll kind of start with the through line that's been true the entire time and will be true into the future. SSP, Summer Science Program, is a chance for teenagers, specifically rising seniors in high school, to get a chance to do real research that's well beyond what you'd normally see at the high school level. It's sort of a first taste of what science is beyond sitting in a classroom and learning in that sort of traditional way. Science, as you get out into the world, is a much more active thing that involves a lot more creativity. So it's a chance for people to dip their toes into that and get a feel for what that's like. As you can imagine, 1959, very different time than today. SSP actually launched when Sputnik launched. So it started in a sort of Cold War context to get people involved in astrophysics, to stay competitive on the national stage. I think that's a lot less true these days. SSP is much more focused on building a community of people and not just getting people into science, but making sure that no matter what you want to do, you have the tools and community and support that you need to do it. A lot of our alumni go into science. Many of them don't. Many just do completely unrelated things. But I think everyone gets a lot out of their time that they spent with this program.
Now, what makes the program a leading educational experience for high school students?
Well, quite a few things. One thing I like to describe about it is that it is project first. So if you are a science student in high school right now, probably your experience of science, like I said earlier, is sitting in a classroom and learning. And that is the opposite of the way that SSP is designed. SSP plops you onto a campus with 36 people. They are from all around the country and all around the world, and from lots of different backgrounds. You are grouped with two other participants. And over the course of 5 weeks, your goal is to complete the science project, which is an authentic project that is contributing to the field that it is involved in. So in astrophysics, that project is called the Orbit Determination Project. You are taking observations with a real telescope that you are using, and you're basically trying to figure out for a target near Earth asteroid, what is that asteroid's orbit? And can you predict where it's going to be in the future? And you actually submit that data to the Minor Planet Center, which is the official body that keeps track of those sorts of observations. So, over the course of 5 weeks, you have to figure out everything that you need to know in order to complete a project like that. And you are contributing to the real scientific field in doing so. I think a lot of things that people feel unconfident about or feel like would be impossible kind of fall away in the face of something that is that lofty a goal, because that's the sort of thing that I didn't get to do until graduate school, until I was after college actually. So it's very special as a program because it challenges people to do so far beyond, I think, what they expect to be able to do when they come in.
Now, what I think is super amazing and just even fun to hear is that regardless of wherever the children end up, they get a chance to kind of experience something really cool and take part of something that's kind of bigger than them and the program in general. Can you explain how do you, help students that are probably 17 years old, the teenagers, kind of be very engaged in this type of programming?
Yeah, for those who are less than 17, just know that everybody above the age of 17, 18 has a memory of leaving home for the first time. It is scary and it gets easier, but it is very hard. I think one of the hardest challenges for this program is I've talked about the academics. I don't think that's the hardest part about it. I think the part that I would have struggled with at this age is actually just being away from home for 5 weeks with a group of strangers and trying to figure out my place in that. So a big goal of this program is it's designed from the ground up, not just to build sort of academic skill and academic confidence, but also to build community, social skills, and basically a sense of support that you need to make it in the world beyond. So we are giving people their first taste of living in a dorm on a college campus. We run on college campuses all over the country, and you are living in the actual dorms that college students would live in. And there are a lot of events and sort of structures that exist that don't typically exist in college, but that are very helpful for making that leap. So instead of sort of just dropping you into this program, the goal is to form a really cohesive community. We ask everyone to require everyone to go to dinner together at the same time, and we have a seating chart that changes every few days so that everybody gets a chance to meet everybody. We have a lot of support on campus. So we have a set of TAs and a site director that are always there who live, the TAs live in the dorm with students, and they are sort of close in age to the students. Many of them are sort of late in their college process, so they can not only guide students, our participants, through the process of the projects that they're doing, but also the process of living in a dorm on a college campus and away from home. So we build this basically around the idea that you are not just doing academics, you are also trying to get to know each other.
And kind of expanding on that, can you talk about how maybe being a part of the program can teach students about, the importance of teamwork and collaboration, just working with other people?
Yeah, but one of my favorite stories is one of the people who has been in the program involved at this program for a very long time. Basically, came in when I came into to this job. She was walking me through what her experience was like back in the '90s, and she every single week was completely dumbfounded by what she was given to accomplish that week. There are problem sets and there are aspects of the project that you have to complete week by week. Every single Sunday, she would see them and she would say, I have no idea how to do this. And then every single Thursday, she would somehow have completed it. It's something that you do as part of this program because the people you're working with are pulling each other across the finish line. So you are contributing what you can, and the people you work with are contributing what they can. It's too hard for any one person to complete on their own, but it is very possible as long as you're able to sort of work together.
Now,
That's just a sort of taste of what it's like.
now, how does SSP ensure that its programs are inclusive and accessible to students from diverse backgrounds?
Yeah, I think there are two steps to this, and one of them is just to make sure that the programs themselves are uh, accessible at all, meaning that you can apply, you can get accepted, and you will be able to go. That is not enough on its own. So we have steps beyond that. But in order to just accomplish that, we are working very, very hard to include students who otherwise have not had access to programs like this. So one of the steps that we're taking is we're reaching out to community-based organizations, which are basically organizations that connect promising students in communities that often don't have access to sort of college admissions and help in that process with admissions committees, typically college admissions committees, but also admissions committees for things like SSP. And aside from that, we are a completely need blind organization when it comes to applications, which means that if you apply and you need financial aid to complete the program, that is invisible to the person who is reviewing your application. They have no knowledge about what your needs are. They only see how promising you are as a student. What we're looking for in students is not the person who has necessarily already completed most of the program and would be basically arriving ready to complete it. We're looking for people who have kind of maxed out what they're able to do in their high school environment and show us that they'll be enthusiastic to learn more. So if that's you, I very strongly encourage you to apply. We will do what we can to make sure that you're able to join us, regardless of the financial need. And aside from that, once people are on campus, we have a lot of community building activities to make sure that the typical ways that people tend to silo off from each other, either due to stratification economically, socially, being from different backgrounds, we try and make sure that those boundaries are broken down, and we try and make sure that people are talking across those lines. And one thing that we do is if you are a student who is on full financial aid, you also receive a stipend that helps you have some spending money that gets you through the process of going through this program where maybe some of the people that you're going through it with have income from parents or people who are supporting them from home. And at the same time, there are many people who have to work over the summer, and that prevents them from being part of this program. We are piloting for a small number of participants a lost wages stipend that is much more significant than the typical stipend, and that basically works as if you make the case to SSP that you would have to work over the summer and that you would lose that income by joining this program, we will do our best to cover the income that you would have lost, partially or fully, with that stipend. So those are all of the sort of quantitative things. We also just have a really strong culture of every person who comes in is valuable, has things to contribute, and should be taken seriously. So we do a lot. It's something that we're working very, very hard on.
And with that, how can, just kind of, I don't want to say prioritizing, but ensuring that, these students feel seen, how could that also, just prepare students within the program to develop intellectually, for, college experiences or just, their experiences with the world?
Yeah, one thing I really wish I had known much earlier on in my education is that I think a big part, and not just me, I think this is becoming more and more established, sort of scientifically. One of the most important aspects to succeeding in college, in careers, in any field that you want to go into, it's not your technical skills. Those are important, but as important often is your sense of belonging in the field, and that's a much more abstract thing. So entering a program like this that tries to be very inclusive, to give you a sense of confidence, and to give you a community that can really increase someone's sense of belonging. Uh, when you go into college, I think that's the thing that we hope will stick with these participants, is that we want them to feel like whatever field they go into, they belong in it, they can feel confident in what they're doing, and they know how to sort of navigate socially. And I think those things make as big a difference often as any set of technical skills that people are taking away from this program.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about the role that faculty members play in guiding or mentoring students as they, complete their research projects and as they foster collaboration with other students?
Yeah, uh, faculty members are typically we have three academic directors on each campus, and that's a fancy word that basically says this is a person who during the year is a university professor in the field that this project is in. So they are the expert on this subject. Their role is not just an academic one; they are the experts on the project. So they're the ones who are sort of taking on the project, making sure that it is completable, making sure that any hiccups that people run into are able to be avoided, and they're helping people learn what they need to in order to accomplish what they need to do. Uh, but on top of that, they're also helping to build community. So we look for not just very accomplished academics, but also very accomplished community builders. Some of the people that we work with every summer and that we hire as faculty are not just skilled teachers in the classroom, but also really skilled at mentoring people and just having fun conversations around the dining room table every night. A lot of people love bringing people into their hobbies. There are some instructors who take people on nature hikes every year, just to their sort of favorite place around campus. And that's one of our favorite things to see. I think that's incredibly valuable at a program like this.
Now, can you tell me more about the alumni network and how it continues to support current participants?
Mm-hmm. So I think there are two big examples that I'll name. SSP is basically run by its alumni. It is an incredibly powerful network, and we have 65 years worth of people who have come out of this program who still relate to the program as it exists today. I think that's one of the coolest things, is seeing someone who graduated from this thing in the 1970s and then comes to speak to a participant who graduated in the 2020s, and they both just start geeking out over the same things. It's really wonderful to see, and it's happened a lot. I think the two big events that I have witnessed are, one of them is just called the annual gathering, and this is where everyone who has ever been a part of SSP, either as a participant or a faculty member or a TA, can come together in one city, and they just sort of socialize. It's just a big social event with things are happening throughout the city throughout the week and the weekend, and there's one big sort of dinner and gala where everybody can meet everybody else. So that helps you keep connected with this enormous community across generations and across immense spans of space and time. So that's one. It's just a yearly event, but we have many things like that sort of interspersed throughout the year. And I think the other big effort that we're working on is called SSP Connect. And this is where people who have recently gone through this program, so either very new college students or late high school students, are helping people who are coming in or are just graduating themselves from SSP. And the goal there is to make sure that you have the support that you need as an SSP participant, not just to complete the program, but to start the next stage of your life, which for most people is college or is gaining independence, moving away from home. It's a scary time. So it's, I think, a time that everybody needs a little bit of support, and SSP Connect is a way that people from this program in the past can help new people through it.
Now,
Uh,
oh, I'm sorry. You can continue.
no, that's all I have.
Uh, so you briefly mentioned like kind of how this experience is multi-generational and how alumni, are people who have done it before and they're able to help other people who are now in the program. So with that, I'm curious to know, how have you seen the projects change over time? Just because, as we know, science is ever changing, and what it was 50 years ago is different from what it is now. So I'm curious to know from your perspective, how have you seen the program evolve or the projects evolve?
That's a fantastic question, because it's hard to keep this going for 65 years without changes like that. So the biggest thing is that we've added lab sciences. It used to just be an astrophysics program, and we've added three new fields, and we're adding more as we speak. One of them is called biochemistry. Another is called genomics. In biochemistry, you are characterizing a protein that is made by a living organism. In genomics, you are raising a bacterial colony and then injecting usually antibiotics or really stressors, as we call them, that just make it harder for the bacterium to grow. So that colony needs to adapt and change its genetic code in order to make it able to multiply. So by the end of the program, you have created a new organism, and you need to study that organism's genetics to see how it's changed. And then synthetic chemistry is our newest one that we are still sort of in the pilot phase of. So we're in year 2 of running that, and it is the one that I know least about. So I probably shouldn't jump into that without more information. But it basically puts you in the lab, and it is designed by a synthetic chemist. And based on his research, you are doing basically the same things that a professional synthetic chemist does. Astrophysics has had to adapt because that is our longest running program, and it is different but similar, I should say. This is the one that I have the most information on, so I'm sorting through it. But we used to work off of enormous photographic plates, and now we work off of cameras that are digital. So that's just one of the ways that it's changed. We are still characterizing asteroid orbits, and we do it in actually a very similar way because our instrumentation has gotten more precise, and our ability to observe and to characterize those orbits have gotten better. So participants can actually still contribute in a very real way to our knowledge of the sort of asteroids around the Earth. Uh, the project is basically the same. It's the same sorts of observations, and it's the same sorts of characterization. So the fact that we picked something so early on that has stayed part of the scientific world for so long is very lucky, I should say. But we are considering new astrophysics programs as well that bring in some more modern techniques and some more modern questions.
Now, kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, I'm curious to know, can university locations also impact the type of research projects that students take on?
A little bit. This certainly we have some limits where lab sciences are both very simple and very complicated. Simple because many universities have labs that are designed to be biochemistry labs or genomics or microbiology labs. So there are a lot of places that we can run those sorts of programs, but they need very specialized equipment in order to make it happen. So we always like to make sure that these projects can be accomplished and that universities have the support that they need. And that can be a bit of an effort. With astrophysics, we're kind of limited by the on-campus telescope. So there are some telescopes that are getting older or that are on the smaller side or that just are not well taken care of. And that limits sort of what we can do or where we can operate with astrophysics. Uh, we're looking at ways to make sure that we can operate as many places as possible, I should say, because our goal is basically not to operate necessarily at the biggest, most prestigious universities that are the best equipped, but to make sure that we are where the participants are and that we're covering as much of the United States as possible.
Now, just hearing this from my perspective, I'm like, whoa, this could feel very intimidating, but I'm curious to know, how are the students handling taking on these research projects? And if there are any, what are some challenges they may face and how do they overcome them?
I am continually shocked at how well people of this age are able to take this stuff on. So I think the biggest surprise for me was when I went onto campus this last summer and witnessed one of these programs for the first time since I had just started this job. These participants were better at attending lectures than I was. They had learned, I think, over the course of the program, really, really great advice from their advisors, from the faculty, and from each other, which is where a lot of the learning happens. So it's not as big a challenge as it seems at first because you're not doing this alone. If you were to go into this situation by yourself and have to work out everything, I think it would be impossible for anyone to complete a program like this. But you have a really wonderful team to pull you across the finish line. In terms of challenges, I think the hardest part tends to be the social and emotional aspect of just being away from home and being in a new group of people. We do support people through that, and we have a lot of, I don't want to say monitoring, but we keep an eye on people. We make sure that if somebody appears that they're struggling, that we connect them with the resources they need to get through it. We have, like I said, TAs who live in the dorms with participants and make sure that if there are any conflicts or any sort of difficulties that people are going through, they at least have someone sort of close in age to them and who is very invested in their growth as a person to talk to. Uh, so that's a real concern, and I think it's the biggest concern.
I would also add that I think it's really cool that not everybody is going to have that quintessential college experience of like being in a dorm. And I think this gives some kids the opportunity to kind of have that feel. I know I'm definitely like, oh, I always wish I had the experience of like being in a dorm and getting to know new people. So I think it's amazing that people are able, students are able to kind of have this experience in a very supportive environment. Just because I know with college, you're kind of on your own. So this is kind of like a nice little introduction, I would say, to independence. With that, can you say, is that something that you've seen as well?
That's absolutely something we see. Being in a dorm is really exciting the first time you do it. It does, as any college student will tell you, it gets a little bit tired after a while. It's a big challenge, and it's a big, exciting challenge. And I think something that a lot of people miss after they leave college, because there's such a sense of community when you're living that close to so many people in similar circumstances to you. Uh, so I think the biggest thing that we're looking to do is support people who are not just experiencing college for the first time, but who might be first generation students or low income students or people who might not already be on the college path or know a lot of people who are on that path. I think for those people it is harder, but still very possible to make that leap. So that's the kind of person we're trying to support right now. If you listening to this are in that situation as a student, do not worry. That's what this program is about. It's a scary leap for anyone, and we're here to support you through it.
Now, I'm just curious, can you tell me a little bit more about SSP's just approach to teaching and learning and how it may differ from what students may see in a high school science class?
Absolutely. I think the biggest difference is that we do give some things that look like a high school science class throughout the program. Many of our projects give out weekly problem sets or things to work on that are similar to what you'd see for homework. We do not give grades, and that's a big difference already. Is that when you're doing something for your own learning and in order to accomplish a larger goal instead of for a grade, I think the whole relationship with learning changes. You can afford to be a lot more creative, take a lot more risks, and just sort of feel a love for the subject that is often taken away when there's someone with a red pen behind the scenes, kind of. Maybe a red pen is a dated reference now because I know everything happens online, but with metaphorical red pen kind of crossing things off as you go, it's much harder to develop a positive relationship with a subject. So there's that aspect to begin with, but I think there's also the aspect that there's when things are project based like they are with SSP instead of problem based or test based, you get to be really creative, and you have to be really creative. There are times when you open the telescope in astrophysics or you walk into the lab in our lab sciences and something goes wrong and you need to figure out what that is. There's no instruction manual, and your goal is just okay, you're off road. Who do you go to? What can you do? What steps should you take? All of that is up to you as a participant. You're developing the tools to answer those sorts of questions on the fly, but it is up to you how you answer them. And I think it one important aspect of science that often gets lost in high school and in sort of early science classes is that it is not it is not a memorization based endeavor. Science is really creative. You can really play in the space once you have the tools to do so and once you have a goal. So for many students, I think this is their first chance to do that.
Now, lastly, I just want to know, where do you see SSP in the next decade? And, how do you plan to continue evolving to meet the needs of future students?
Yeah, we're growing in basically every direction right now. We had a very generous gift from one of our alumni a few years ago of on the order of $200 million. And what that means is that SSP, which was a relatively lower budget organization than that before that, has gone from about 2 programs a year to about 15 this year. Uh, so that's just the traditional summer science program as it's run in the past. That is growing, and we're making sure that it's accessible to as many people as possible. So that mission is going to continue. We'll keep expanding, and we'll keep making this more accessible and easier to access for people who don't typically get to be involved in these sorts of programs. We're also growing internationally. So we've stayed in the United States historically, and hopefully this summer, this is not yet confirmed, but we have high hopes that we'll be able to run a program not within the United States, and that will continue as the years go on. We're also really hoping to expand to different age groups. So certainly one big transition that people go through is around the time they're getting ready to leave high school and start gaining some independence in college or otherwise. Uh, that's a big time. And that's the time that SSP wants to be there for people and give them support and give them opportunities. Another really big time is just at the beginning of high school. I think everybody who has been through that time remembers, like, oh, this is when I developed a really strong interest or a really big part of my identity in one thing or another. And we want to give people the opportunity at that age as well to get some authentic scientific experiences. So we want to run different types of programs for different areas of student, basically.
Well, Nico, thank you so much for joining us. Can you quickly let everyone know where they can go to learn more information?
Yes, the central repository for all of this is summerscience.org. That's summer science and then .org. I hear ads repeat that all the time, so I just am repeating it again so people will remember. Uh, I believe that is fine where you will find everything you need, including information about what this program is, how it works, and importantly, where to apply. Applications are open for international students for just a couple more days. They will close on the 24th of January, so that window is closing. But domestic students, you have a month. So if this was not on your radar and it sounds interesting to you, you should visit that website, summerscience.org, and look up some information about how to apply.
Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. This was a very interesting conversation.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic.
We have to take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.